back to my channel. I hope you're all really well. Today we are going to be talking about fast fashion a little bit and the fact that I gave it up because I've just undone my necklace. This happens all the time. I actually don't really know what this video is. I'll let you in a little secret. I actually don't know what it is. But I wanted to talk about the fact that I haven't bought a new item of clothing in 4 years. So that's what this video is. And I've been asked some questions on Instagram that I'm going to answer. And I'll tell you a little bit about fast fashion and why it's bad. Tell you about some resources if you want to look into it yourself. Now, I am in no way, shape or form an expert or have anything intelligent to say about the matter of fast fashion and why it sucks. So I'm just going to start by telling you about my experience and my journey. So when I first started this YouTube channel, I was actually working in a charity shop. So I have always pretty much, at least my whole adult life, been buying secondhand clothes. But at that time also, I had just got like my first job and I was loving going to Primark, and obviously being on the YouTube space, I fell into the hole of Primark hauls and fast fashion hauls. And I created quite a lot of them, not as much as a lot of people by any means, because I've never actually been that well off. Like, I've never actually had that much money. Like, I've always only ever had part-time jobs, so I've never been one to spend a huge extortionate amount on clothes. I'm actually one of these people that would actually just buy a lot of cheap clothes. So I used to be someone that would like rather spend £40 on like 10 items than spend £40 on one really good quality piece, if that makes sense. So that was always like my sort of thing. I always wanted more basically. But yeah, I was creating fast fashion hauls, Primark, Boohoo, Pretty Little Thing, ASOS, all that sort of stuff. But I was also throwing in charity shop and eBay and sort of that into the mix as well. But I never saw a problem with it. I never thought about fast fashion or how problematic it is. It's bad for the planet, it's bad for garment workers, it's bad for a lot of reasons. But that wasn't on my radar then. I did not think about it in the slightest. Also, just want to say I've not planned this video like at all. So if I go off on any tangents or just stare into space for a really long time, that's why. So yeah, I didn't think about it at all. Occasionally, my dad would say things to me about Primark, and he would be like, just make an off-the-cuff comment about slave labour and child labour and stuff. But even then, never thought anything of it. I just thought he was just being silly old dad making jokes, like, or I just thought that was normal. I don't know. Bit weird. But then in late 2018, about September time, I decided I wanted to make an Instagram account to show off my charity shop finds and like maybe like use it to showcase like stuff I'm selling. But yeah, mainly it was to show off things I'd found in charity shops and on eBay, and just wanted to share my bargains. I didn't really think anything else of it. I just wanted to show off my lovely little bargains, and that was it. And then I would say it wasn't until maybe early 2019, that I really started posting on that account a lot, and I ended up finding a little bit of a community. A little bit of a thrifty community of lots of other people doing the same thing as me, sharing their finds, and it was lovely. And for the first like 6 months, that's all I really thought about. It was just thrifting. And then by July, I noticed I hadn't actually bought anything new in about a month or so, and I thought to myself, bloody hell, Hannah, you've not bought anything in Primark, you've not gone on ASOS next day delivery, you've not bought anything from PLT. Let's see how you do with that and just try if you can try and keep it up. Like, it was never a conscious decision for me where I had a light switch moment and thought, oh, I'm giving up fast fashion, I'm not doing that again. It was actually just more like a little competition with myself to be like, how long can you go without buying anything new? But then what happened was I started to I started to follow more, so I was still following like people that were just showing off their thrifty outfits, but then I'm also falling into like finding people who were educating on slow fashion and fast fashion, and I started to realise that fast fashion is horrific. There's so much nuance to the conversation though. I'm not gonna like delve into it. I don't think I'm the right person to do it. I'm not massively educated or intelligent, so I'm definitely not the right person to do that. There's probably some good like TED Talks and stuff on it though, has to be said. And yeah, I just discovered how horrific it was. So then I think there probably was a point at some point where I thought, oh, I will never buy fast fashion again. But also I'm the sort of person where I'm like, oh, you can never say never, like never ever say never. Like you just never know what's around the corner. You never know what circumstance you're going to be in. But so far it's been 4 years, because it's been since July 2019. In the last 4 years, I've not bought a single new item of clothing. That does exclude shoes, it excludes underwear. I have bought new jewellery, and I have had new pyjamas bought for me, but I don't believe I've bought myself a new pair of pyjamas. But yeah, no new clothes whatsoever from me. Even my bridesmaid dress, which was new, I didn't pay for, so that doesn't even count either. Loopholes. I expect I will at some point buy new clothes, just won't buy fast fashion. Like it would be nice to support a small business like making lovely handmade things that are like slow fashion, made to order sort of bits. But at this moment in time I don't feel the need to buy anything new, because now here's a quote that gets thrown around a lot on Instagram, but some of you might not know this if you just kind of watch my channel. There are enough clothes on planet Earth right now to clothe the next 6 generations, and that is absolutely wild. So really, no clothes need to be made at all. But that's not to say that I don't think it's lovely that like small made to order brands and stuff like that exist, because there's definitely a place for them. But if every single company stopped making clothes today, the next six generations are absolutely sorted, and that's horrific. Like we've gone very wrong somewhere, that is a thing. I feel like that's a little tangent I've gone on, but I feel like I should read you a couple of bits and bobs about fast fashion. So this is on the Oxfam website, and this is how does fast fashion affect the environment. And it says the impact of plastic fibres on the environment cannot be ignored. These tiny particles are polluting the oceans, entering our waterways and contaminating our food chain. So every time you wash an item of clothing that has like polyester in, tiny little bits of plastic go into your washing machine, end up in the ocean and are polluting the ocean. However, plastic fibres are not the only environmental issue caused by the fashion industry. Wastewater contaminated with toxic dyes and the use of harmful chemicals also contribute to the industry's devastating impact on the planet. And fast fashion relies on cheap disposable clothing that is produced quickly and sold at low prices, encouraging consumers to buy and discard clothing at an alarming rate. As a result, landfills are overflowing with discarded clothing and textile waste is piling up. The pollution caused by fast fashion is an issue that requires urgent attention, and consumers can play an important role in driving change by supporting sustainable and ethical fashion brands, choosing high quality clothing that lasts longer, and recycling or repurposing clothing when it's no longer needed. So if you're sat there thinking, oh, maybe I should stop or reduce buying fast fashion, and you're thinking to yourself, but how do I know what brands are fast fashion and what brands are a little bit better? Who should I be supporting? Who should I not be supporting? Because look, I'm not telling anyone to stop buying clothes. That's not my place. But I could advise you to buy less new clothes and try and embrace thrifting more. And if someone commented on this video and said, you know what, I'm going to give charity shopping a go, or if they said I'm going to give up fast fashion, just like one person, that would like make my day. And so yeah, what I'm going to tell you about is a website/app. It's called Good On You, and you can type in any brand. It doesn't have them all on there, but it'll have all the big boys on there, and it will tell you about their kind of ethics, if they think you should shop with them, kind of things like that. So for example, I'm going to go with like what I would deem to be the worst of the worst, the lowest of the low, which is Sheen. And They are rated on Good On You as We Avoid, which is the lowest you can be rated. They score in their Sheen sustainability rating, they score 1 out of 5 for planet, 1 out of 5 for people, and 2 out of 5 for animals. Sheen are literally the worst of the worst, and I don't have it in me to tell you why, but there was a really good documentary on Channel 4. I will put a link to it in the description because you'll be able to watch it on demand. But I'd highly recommend you watch it to get an inside look at Shein and their terrible practices. They churn out way more items per day, per week, per month, per year than any other fast fashion brand. They are literally a menace who need to be stopped. Like, they're horrific. And if you compare that to Primark are rated not good enough, which is 1 up from We Avoid, so again, not great. Boohoo is rated the same, I think, as Primark. Yeah, they're rated the same. And Zara is also rated the same. So I think a lot of people think Zara is a little bit more high end and maybe not fast fashion, but they really are really quite bad. But let's compare that to something like, but some of them will surprise you. But somewhere like Marks and Spencer's, they're rated It's a Start, which kind of means, like, you know, they're making some effort. Marks and Spencer has good policies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but is not taking adequate steps to ensure payment of a living wage for its workers in its supply chain. So what that basically means is that they are, you know, trying to do good things for the planet, but they're not really looking after their workers in the supply chain, which is like the garment workers and people like that. So they're not being paid a living wage, which is horrific for a British brand, I feel like M&S, an old school British brand who I feel like would have better morals than that, better ethics, but they score a 3 out of 5 for planet, 3 out of 5 for people, 3 out of 5 for animals. So, you know, they're kind of middle of the road. So now I'm going to answer some questions that my Instagram followers gave me on giving up fast fashion. First one, which I actually did answer on my Instagram, but I feel like it does go without saying. Like, someone asked me, underwear, where do you buy knickers? Obviously, I said earlier I do buy new underwear, and I honestly buy my underwear from whatever shop suits me best at the time in terms of like my financial situation, my desperation situation. Like, I will buy them from Primark. I know I shouldn't, but I do sometimes. But yeah, so someone said like that this stops me being 100% like pre-loved. Yeah, I'm not buying secondhand knickers, don't worry about it. But sometimes you can find new knickers in charity shops with the tag still on that someone's donated, so that's fine. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with buying a secondhand bra either. You know, you've just got to you've got to take everything as like a case by case. Like, yeah, if it's a pair of knickers that's got a big stain in it, no, I'm not going to buy it. Obviously, if it's a bra and it's like stained and ripped, I'm not going to buy it. But if it looks like someone just tried it on and then it wasn't good for them, that's fine. No, most people have a washing machine. So the next question is, have you found it easy? Yeah, actually, I kind of have, because basically by this point I've just accepted that it's just how I live. It's just like my way of life. If I've got an event coming up, I try and plan in advance. Sometimes it's like a week before an event and I'm like going to every charity shop known to man, trying to find something to wear. But on the whole, it's definitely been easy. And there's so many options now as well. You've got charity shops, you've got vintage, you've got online charity shops, you've got online vintage shops, you've got renting. Renting's a really great option for if you're like invited to like something fancy last minute. I'm yet to actually rent anything myself, but it's definitely something that I'm going to do at some point when the occasion should present itself. There are definitely some times where I'm like a little bit stressed trying to find something to wear and I'm like, oh, I wish I could just ASOS next day delivery it, but I never do. At the end of the day, I've kind of just taught myself that I do have clothes, so no matter what event I'm invited to, I'm probably going to have something suitable. And I just tell myself I'm not more important than like the garment workers or the planet. Like, me having the right dress for an event, that's not more important than fast fashion. Does that make sense? I don't know. Like, I went to a birthday party last year, couldn't find anything to wear, ended up wearing a dress that was, in my opinion, way too casual, and I didn't wear the right shoes with it, and I was just like a little bit stressed about it, and like thinking to myself, I wish I could have just bought something new. And yeah, I look back on it at the pictures and I'm like, oh, I wish I wasn't wearing that. But at the time, I didn't let it ruin my night. So it's never like as deep as you think it is, really. Yeah, sometimes it's hard, but on the whole, it's not. And if you think I'm someone that's, you know, I was making Primark hauls, like you would think maybe someone like me would have struggled with it, but I really haven't. I think the thing I find the hardest is that now I'm a size like 16, 18. That's the hardest part for thrifting. It's definitely easier when I was smaller, but that's a whole different video. Next question is, how do you get past seeing something new and really wanting it? I just don't put myself in that situation, really. Like, I don't go in new shops mostly. I actually did go, my sister got married a few months ago, and I was in a department store with my mum, and there were some things that I looked at and I was like, oh, that's so nice, but they're usually more than I want to spend anyway, so they're not like a realistic thing for me. They're like not attainable. So yeah, I just don't put myself in the situation. On occasion I've like walked past a window and been like, that's lovely, but sometimes I just take a picture of it and then like keep an eye out on Vinted for it or things like that. I really almost never see something new and like have it keep playing on my mind to a point where I'm like, oh, I've got to treat myself to that. It just never happens. I think I'm quite lucky, really. I just don't care that much because I know so many people would find it so hard. The next question is, what do you miss most? And if you would have asked me this a few weeks ago, I would have said I missed just going around Primark. However, I was gifted a Primark gift card for my birthday, and I went through a lot of things in my head about, do I spend it, what do I do with it, yada yada yada, and I ended up going in there and I bought like just a couple of rings and a few other bits. I didn't buy clothes, and I absolutely hated the experience so much. So that experience was so horrific. It's definitely cured any feeling of me ever wanting to go in Primark again. But I would say what I miss the most is just the ease of stuff, like just being able to go on ASOS and there's like everything's in my size almost. That's definitely what I miss the most. Oh, I ran out of storage on my phone, so I put my videos onto my laptop, and then I just got into like a 15-minute voice note / message thing with the girls in the group chat, so please do excuse me. I know that it would seem like no time at all for you, but anyway, we move. The next question is one that I actually don't think I can answer because I just don't have an answer, so I'm going to read out the question and I'm going to put it to you. If you have any ideas on how to answer this question, leave it in the comments. So the next question is, what do you think charity shops could learn from fast fashion? It's a very good question, a very interesting question. And I've sat with it for a while and really thought about it, and nothing springs to mind. But I'm sure someone would have an answer. There's always something. So if that person's you, do let me know in the comments. Next question is, do you ever think about going back? Nope, never think about going back. There's not really much more to elaborate on there, just never do. So there. Do you think you buy more clothes or fewer than when you bought new? Probably more. I'm still definitely over consuming my clothes intake, because beforehand, I mean, it's just so cheap to buy secondhand in charity shops. Obviously some charity shops are a little bit more expensive, but on the whole, like where I live, most things are really reasonably priced. So I definitely do overindulge on the reg, and I need to cut that out, definitely. So yeah, I definitely do buy more now than I did then. Next question is how to find thrifted shoes and jeans. Don't ask me, I'm no good at it, honestly. For thrifting shoes, you've got to go online, really. It's very, very seldom do I find anything in a charity shop. or volunteer in a charity shop. That was when I found all my best charity shop shoes, was when I was working in a charity shop. But on the whole, you want to be looking on Vinted and eBay really for shoes. When it comes to jeans, she's a cruel mistress. They're very difficult to thrift, in my opinion. For my size anyway, I find they're really hard. I wouldn't ever rule out the men's section. Always like know your size, take a tape measure with you and check out the men's stuff. eBay's gonna be good for like Levi's. I know back in the day there was like lots of secondhand sellers like were kind of specializing in Levi's. They were all like reasonably priced the last time I checked, but it has been a few years. But yeah, jeans are tough, really tough, and shoes. Next one is, where do you start? I get so overwhelmed when I go into a charity shop. It's hard for me to put myself in those shoes because I don't get overwhelmed particularly when I go into a charity shop, unless it's like a sensory overload, like unless there's like music playing, screaming children, busy, full like rails, like then I might get a bit overwhelmed and overstimulated. But on the whole, they don't. So I need to kind of think about what I would do if I did feel that way. I'd probably, in the back of my head, my head is just go straight to the dresses, and I don't know why that would be helpful. But maybe if you set yourself a system like that, maybe if every shop you go into, you go to the dresses first, then the trousers, then the skirts, then the tops. I don't know if that's a good plan or not. But where else could you start? I mean, in terms of the types of charity shops you start with, maybe starting with the more boutique-y ones, the more curated ones, that could be a good place to start rather than going to one where there's like stuff happening everywhere. So maybe check out like the shelter boutiques, which I believe are only in London. I'm sorry, I don't know where you're based. But a lot of the London ones, to be honest, do have like a boutique curated feel, which a lot of like seasoned thrifters don't love. But I think if you're starting out, it's a really good place to start. Also, maybe going to Oxfam's, Red Crosses and British Heart Foundations, because they all get corporate stock, so that's all like new stuff. So that might be like a little bit less overwhelming for you. But yeah, maybe starting with the boutique-y ones that are kind of really nicely spread out. They're not jam-packed, and I tend to find that they're not that overwhelming. Next question is, would you ever like to have your own shop one day? It's been great to follow your thrifting. Thank you so much, that's really kind. Yes, I would like to have my own shop one day. I don't think it's something that will ever happen, but if the opportunity presented itself, I'd definitely take it up. I've had for many years, probably since I was working in a charity shop, so like for probably about almost 10 years, because I don't think I had the thought from the get-go, but I have had this idea. And if anyone steals this from me, I want credit. Like a secondhand charity shop, I would say maybe splitting the profits down the middle, or like 60-40 or something, like so I can like make a living. And each quarter, so every like January, February, March, April, like every 4 months, every quarter, you know what I mean, the funds are going towards supporting a different charity. So like it would be a secondhand shop, but it would also be a charity shop, but just the charity that is being supported is like rolling, it's like changing every 4 months. And that's an idea I've had for a really long time, and in an ideal world it would have like a coffee shop attached to it, or maybe like something creative, maybe like a photography studio, like just something like that. I would love that. I'm not 100% sure if I'd be a good business person, so I definitely need like a partner with that. But yeah, that's definitely been like a little tiny dream that's just like in the back of my brain somewhere. I've had for a really long time. And yeah. Next is, do you have to plan ahead for an event, as you might not find what you're looking for fast? I've kind of touched on this already, but yeah, you definitely do have to plan ahead. I find Having saved searches on Vinted is really helpful, because then you can just check Vinted like every morning, and if you've got saved searches, it will say like, so say I'm looking for a little black dress in my size and I've got it all narrowed down in that, it would then say like +7 or +9 or like something like that, and then you know that there's 7 new ones to look at that you've not seen already. So that's really helpful in planning ahead. But yeah, you definitely can't be, usually you can't be like last minute with it. You've got to definitely have like a bit of a plan in place. The next one is something I have also touched on in this video, and the question is just feelings about Shein. My feelings are that they are horrific. I've said it already. I really don't have much to say on them. I really despise them, and I have shopped with them before, probably about 9 or 10 years ago now, back when they weren't even called Shein. They were called She Inside, and like that's how long ago it was that I bought from them. It's been a very long time, and back then I didn't think anything of it at all, but now I know better. Next question is thoughts on buying Shein second hand. So I have no qualms with buying any fast fashion secondhand. I've actually touched on this in a video that I've already filmed, and I'm not sure if it will go up before or after this one, so I won't delve into it too much, but I would rather buy it than it go to landfill, so I'm totally fine with it. But Shein, strangely, is the only fast fashion brand that if I see in a charity shop, I'm usually not going to buy it, because it just kind of gives me the ick. And also there's been a lot of reports on their clothing having like really nasty stuff in it that I just maybe don't want to put on my body. But I do actually own a secondhand dress from Shein that my friend gave me that I absolutely love. So yeah, call me a hypocrite if you will. Next question is, what's the worst fast fashion company in your opinion? It's definitely Shein. Also up there would be Boohoo and like Pretty Little Thing. They all suck. So yeah, those are all the questions I was asked. I feel like I don't really have much else to add other than Shein suck. But yeah, I just want to say, because I feel like British people are terrible at like commending themselves for things, but well done me, honestly, because I think if someone would have said to me 4 or 5 years ago, I challenge you to not buy any new clothing, I think I would have said, no, I don't take you up on your challenge, because I would never be able to do that. But I can, and I have, and it was so much easier. And I think because I didn't put a label on it and I didn't like make it a commitment really, I think that made it a lot easier. So maybe just see for yourself, like maybe try a month where you don't buy new clothes, but like don't put a label on it, don't pressure yourself. You don't have to tell everyone. You know, you can just hold yourself accountable. Give it a go. You know, it's really not that hard. And I feel like if I didn't crack under the pressures of lockdown as well, because obviously I gave up fast fashion in July 2019, and then by March 2020 we went into a lockdown, and the fact that I didn't even crumble then and just think, oh, I need to just do an ASOS splurge or something like that, I went like a good few months without buying any clothes during lockdown. So like it can be done, and it's really not that hard. And I think the pros outweigh the cons. And like I said, I just don't think clothing my body is more important than like the rights of garment workers and the future of the planet. I've got clothes too much, really. I think that's just the bottom line really for me. But I'm not a preacher, you know. I'm fully aware that people are going to do what they want, but there is a part of me that thinks if you are a straight-sized person with a good income, and more specifically you're an influencer, I do think you should be doing better. And I don't think I've got any influencers watching this video, like fast fashion influencers, but I think if you've got hundreds of thousands of subscribers and you're doing haul after haul after haul, you probably need to have a bit of a word with yourself. Watch the Shein documentary that I mentioned earlier, and maybe reevaluate what you're promoting. And take that from someone that has done like a gifted collab with a fast fashion brand in the past. Like, I'm not better than you by any means. I just think there's enough knowledge out there now, and it's being talked about enough that you can't bury your head in the sand about it anymore. And that's just my 2 cents. But like I said, people are going to do whatever they want, as they always have since the dawn of time. But yeah, well done me. Well done little old me, and well done to anyone else who's trying their best on this hellhole of a planet. which is also a lovely planet that we don't want to die, and we want it to last for a really long time. Climate change is real and I'm scared about it. Okay, I'm done. Thank you so much for watching the video. Of course it was a shambles. It was a me video. I didn't plan hardly any of that. I've got very dry mouth from talking so much. But I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you did like it. Leave me a comment if you feel like it. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.